what have been some of the findings of your past research, specifically how they intersect with the question of how do students and people of color interact with police?
So I think some of what we've been able to publish on, really looked at variability and the timing of force. So that was some of our early research was really focused. And again, a lot of this, not even a lot of this, most all of this comes back to the timing. The timing of when things happen is incredibly important. And so in terms of, variability based on, being a student of color or a community member of color, one of the agencies that, we were working on analyzing their use of force for them, we did detect, that they were not more likely to use force, but they were quicker, their officers were quicker in their decision to use force. And when we turn those results over to this agency, this is what I mean by that, the inspiration, right? When an agency, chief looks at that and goes, I want to know why my officers are quicker in using force against these members of our community. Why? So in so much as we have why questions, they have why, because they want to understand what's driving this, the incivility. And so that's one of the projects. So some of this is really about, you got to build a large enough data set, right? So, when you've looked at 100 interactions, right? It may or may not be generalizable to that agency, right? Depends on, how large the population is, right? All that, the science mind, right? But it's really about building a larger data set, right? That you continue to take random samples of these departments and you keep analyzing them and you keep building this data set. And then you get to a level you're comfortable with to say, across these, 6 agencies controlling for all of these different, variables, we do see that there's some variation based on some dimension, right? Be it their race, their gender, location, the type of call. And that's incredibly powerful, right? To be able to show empirically. And then it's what do you do with that data, right? So if you go back and, you imagine that maybe one of the reasons that force is used earlier is because, there's something about the emotionality is higher in those interactions and they seem to start higher, right? So it's not that it kind of peaks, 75% of the interaction. It's like in the first 10% of the interaction, it's already emotionally higher, right? There's a higher level of intensity, right? And you think about, well, how do we detect that, right? So maybe think about the decibel levels, right? The vocal tone, right? Like you're pulling out all of these factors. Okay, then the question is, again, the big one, the why, right? Why do they start higher, right? And then you can think about, well, let's think about the words that are used, right? So now you think about transcribing and analyzing and thinking about using NLP and other types of techniques where you can start to extract more information out to really contextualize that interaction to say, well, it appears to be this. And then again, it's a matter of what do you do with the knowledge when you have it. For us, I think that's what's incredibly helpful in getting agencies to work with us is that they realize that we're going to be able to help them answer the why. And when we answer the why, what they get is, well, do we need to do a training refresher? Yes, right? Do we need to, start having conversations with our, officers about, incivility? Like we don't swear at people ever, right? And it might be that we don't use profanity. And I've heard pushback, right? We're like, we just swear. We were trying to develop a project with the NYPD and, we're kind of walking through this and they said, we just swear. It's just what we do. It's who we are. And I said, there's a difference, and that's, we don't code for profanity unless you want. We code for directed profanity, right? Because there's a real difference in that, oh shit, right? Like, is what it is, right? Different is why you gotta be an asshole. See what I mean? Like there's a difference there. And we've had agencies, that they did a little pushback till we explain it and said, see the difference there? We code for the directed because that's untenable, right? Like when you are, an officer, you're a public servant, you don't do that. It's just, you don't. that, right? There's no justification, rationalization for doing that, right? Now, I get that you might, it's just how we communicate. So we might swear a little bit just to get our feelings out there. But that's unacceptable. We wouldn't tolerate it if a school teacher, right? It's like, why are you an asshole, right? Like we would all go, nope, that's a non-starter. But yet we've had pushback from agencies. They're like, that's okay in certain contexts. And we go, sure. I mean, if your policy is what it is, we're just going to, again, code your footage, convert it to data, and make it it's all objective. It's, did this thing happen? Did this event happen? When did it occur and how long did it occur? And then we'll give you back, a general, here's what your baseline looks like. Here's how many of your interactions on average has this variable that we're interested in. As of right now, we code a little over 130 different events. And again, it's just a matter of if, when, and how long.